After enduring brutal torture, with his fingers and toes cut, bones crushed, and body stabbed countless times, Giju sits on the ground surrounded by a pool of blood. He recalls that it has been 4 days since he was captured by the Iron Guild. Looking at him, Iron Shield remarks that he is a stubborn, mentioning that he would have recruited Giju had he been a little more talented. Calling out to a guild member, Iron Shield instructs him to bring one of Giju's swords. He states that he initially thought to melt and recycle those swords, but has changed his mind, and will now use Giju's own weapon to kill him. Holding Lu, Iron Shield declares that Giju will be buried in this historic gate, which should be an honorable death for a player. With that, he comes closer, intending to kill him. However, as soon as the sword touches Giju's body, he manages to establish a link with Lu, receiving an overwhelming power. Our hero opens his eyes when the sword disappears from the guildmaster, making him confused. Breaking the ropes and rushing away from the stone, Giju summons and points the sword towards Iron Shield, shocking all the members of the guild. However, Iron Shield surprises Giju by grabbing the sword attack with his bare hands. Remarking that Giju was hiding his real strength, Iron Shield states that he felt the Demon King's energy from him, and is not surprised that she took an interest in him. Remarking that the Demon King used him as a plaything, Iron Shield asks how he managed to trick the detection, which even the Demon King cannot do. He states that he still needs to get more information out of him, while Giju thinks that it is time to reveal his true strength. Meanwhile, the girl with a golden mask orders her team to initiate the attack, and an arrow is launched in Iron Shield's direction that pierces his hand. Looking at the arrow, Iron Shield recognizes it as an Artemis arrow, and realizes the attack was by Athena. Just then, Athena and her team reveal themselves, confirming Iron Shield's suspicions. Breaking the arrow, Iron Shield asks if this is a declaration of war against them. In response, Athena, standing at a distance, starts to laugh, remarking that his sense of humor has improved. Swinging her weapon, she states that there hasn't been a time when she wasn't at war, and throws the weapon at Iron Shield. In response, Iron Shield takes out his sword and pierces it into the ground with all his might, creating a giant shield before him, which collides with Athena's weapon, leading to a massive explosion with the force to uproot surrounding trees. While our hero stands momentarily blinded by the storm. Covering his eyes, Iron Shield calls out to Rogers, telling him to keep Giju alive and restrain him. Turning back to Athena, Iron Shield pulls his sword out of the ground, stating that they will put an end to this fight today once and for all. Raising his sword in the air, he orders his guild members to prepare for the battle. An intensive fight breaks between the two groups that shakes the entire forest. Hearing the sounds of the battle, Rogers remarks that he is getting chills listening to the battle, remarking that they really are monsters. Turning to Giju, who stands holding his sword, asking, "Don't you agree?" Looking at him barely standing, ready to fight, Rogers states that their guild master instructed him to keep Giju alive. However, no one would blame him if he accidentally killed him. With that, Rogers leaps up and disappears from Giju's sight, taking him by surprise. Arriving behind him, Rogers states that he cannot let him live after he has seen his true self. Saying that, he slashes his sword towards Giju's neck, who was waiting for this moment, shouts out, "Reflect," causing Rogers to be confused. Just then, a bright light begins to emanate from the hero's body, successfully using Bernhardt's skill to reflect the accumulated damage, shocking Rogers. Suddenly, a blast erupts from the area, covering everything with dust and smoke. After some time, Rogers lies on the ground with a coughing fit, while Giju sits in front of him. The system notifies him that Bernhardt has reached its maximum accumulation limit and has started to disintegrate. With Bernhardt falling apart, Giju starts to step towards Rogers. As he reaches for him, he raises his sword into the air while Rogers begs for his life. However, without listening, Giju pierces his sword into Rogers' body, causing him immense pain and knocks him unconscious. Afterwards, Giju lies on the ground, feeling pain due to the aftereffects of Reflect, and thinking that it won't stop bleeding. Just then, he hears the voice of a girl calling him brother and asking if he is alright. Turning to the voice, he sees a figure of a young girl standing near him and thinks of his sister Yujong. Asking what is he talking about, the girl states that she is Sujung and comes forward, which surprises him. Getting close, she asks if she saves him and gets him an elixir, what he would be willing to do for her. Would he give his life to her, or become her slave? Looking at her, Giju raises one finger, stating that he has one more request, to kill Iron Shield, and destroy the Iron Guild. Remarking that these are two requests rather than one, Sejong asks if they have an agreement. In response, our hero continues with his requests, wanting his other sword. Hearing this, she becomes annoyed, asking how many more extra conditions he was going to add. Just then, Bal, who was observing all this, comes to them, remarking that Giju is certainly an interesting person. To which Sejong agrees. Turning to Bal, Sejong reveals that from the looks of it, he appears good-natured, but is actually evil-natured inside, and someone was suppressing his true nature. Looking at how Rogers was stabbed, this was not something one does out of anger. Stating that he aimed directly for the vitals, remarking that it was his first time killing a person, yet he did it cold-heartedly and without a hint of hesitation. Pointing to Rogers, Bal asks what she plans to do with him, stating that while the wound seems to be fatal, but due to his high level, if left alone, he will recover over time. In response, Soo-young states that they will just leave him, and if he does recovers, this is his fate, and she remarks that it would be preferable for them to let him live. She states that revenge becomes sweeter the longer it lasts, and with the appearance of a purple aura. Her body starts to change. With her appearance completely changed, she states that it is the coming of the Demon King, to which Bal agrees. Telling him to keep quiet, she remarks that names like that are made up by people who don't know what they are talking about. Walking ahead with an overwhelming purple energy emanating from her body, she states that she will be the one to kill the Demon King. Meanwhile, Giju finds himself standing inside a dark cubicle space, realizing that this place is inside his dreams that have been haunting him for the last 5 years. Looking at the rope hanging in front of him, he stretches his hands towards it, remembering that this dream disappeared after he met Lu. Reaching outside the cubicle space, he grabs the rope and finds a bucket hanging down from it. This makes him realize that even after getting over a wall, he is still stuck in the well he was originally in. He thinks that even his dreams have started to mock him, and he was simply lucky to grab the rope that drew him up, and his own strength wasn't involved. Just then, someone appears behind him, calling him a loser, and asks how long he will be complaining about the broken link and the powers he borrowed. With a demon-like appearance, the creature tells him it doesn't matter if it earned or by luck, as long as you have the power, it is his power. Confused, he starts to ask who, when a voice from behind tells him that he is right. Turning around, he is surprised to see an angelic figure, and she states that all her power belongs to him, telling him not to despair. Just then, he opens his eyes and jerks up, awakened from his dreams. Bal remarks that Giju seems to have regained his senses. Upon noticing, he begins to wonder who this person was. He thinks of Sejong, wondering if he is someone related to the Demon King. Meanwhile, Bal smiles back, stating that the recovered sword is next to him. Upon looking down, he finds both El and Lu lying on the ground near him. Bal then tells him to rest for a little longer, stating that although they healed his wounds with potions, he should not move too much. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake, and the sky starts to turn red, making Giju confused. As he looks up towards the sky, he is shocked to find someone floating in the air. Suddenly, the ground starts to crack, and a massive blast erupts, sending huge rocks up in the sky. Giju in shock asks what it is, and Bal tells him that it is the Demon Commander, stating that it must be Giju's first time seeing it. Bal reveals that the gigantic demonic creature towers before them is the owner of this maze, the Demon Commander Haryond. Looking up at the formidable Demon Commander, Giju asks if it is really the gatekeeper, and Bal agrees, making him realize that he might have to fight with it. Meanwhile, Sejong floats in the air in front of the monster, with a confident smile on her face. Suddenly, the commander opens its eyes with a fierce glow in them and unleashes its powers, causing a gate to appear behind it, which shocks Giju. Gazing at the gate, Giju wonders how it is possible for a gate to appear inside another gate, while Bal tells him to stand behind him or he might die. Bal clenches his fist, causing a single drop of his blood to fall to the ground, creating a protective barrier around them. Looking at it, Giju becomes even more shocked and asks if this is really a barrier, to which Bal agrees, remarking that he is quite well informed. Meanwhile, through the portal created by the Demon Commander, deadly monsters starts to rush out and attack Sejong. As the monsters approach, she stands her ground and slowly begins to emit a strong energy that surrounds her. When the monsters close in to attack her, the layer of energy erupts, unleashes formidable ink flames, causing all the monsters to go flying backward. The ink flames then transform into a gigantic sword that Sejong effortlessly controls with a single move of her finger, leaving Giju amazed. Observing the gigantic sword raised high in the sky, Giju recalls Rogers's words about the fights resembling those between divine beings. Then the sword comes swinging downward at great speed, directed towards the demon commander, creating a massive explosion that destroys the entire forest. In the morning, after the relentless battle ends, the once green and thick forest appears to have been completely destroyed. Meanwhile, in the reward room, Giju opens the box containing the reward for clearing the gate and finds an elixir inside, while the egos congratulate him on his achievement. As Giju holds the box, he realizes that he has succeeded, though he feels more frustrated than happy given his situation. Sejong, who is standing beside him, states that she has kept her promise to help him, stating that Giju still has to take care of his own revenge, since he shouldn't expect her to help him with everything. Turning to her, Giju asks if Sejong is her real name, to which she confirms, also revealing that she is Korean as well. Sejong then opens her reward box and finds an elixir inside and ball. Her comrade also finds the elixir as reward inside his box. Then giving her bottle of elixir to Giju, Sejong tells him to keep it, surprising him. Stating that she is fulfilling the condition of helping him take revenge on the Iron Guild, she tells him to think of it as part of her job. She remarks that his body is not in good condition, and the elixir will completely heal him, making him capable of taking revenge. Handing him the bottle, she states that getting it was not her main goal, she only wanted to become a commander, surprising him with her gesture. Holding the bottle, Giju decides to stop comparing himself to others, and just grow stronger by himself. After a little contemplation, he turns to her and asks if there is something she wants from him, in return for giving him such a valuable item. He asks if she intends to make him her lifetime slave, but she disagrees, stating that she only wants him to become her disciple, surprising him even more. She states that he is currently useless, because he is weak, and instructs him to come to her after he clears the 50th floor of the tower, so that she can train him. Sejong then uses her skill to instill something to the side of his head, saying this is the evidence of the existence of the contract, which causes him a slight pain. She states that he does not have any skills or abilities at the moment, and advises him to try to learn as much as he can. Remembering something, she states that she looked at his sword earlier, remarking that they are very unique, and says that she knows a way to strengthen one of them, surprising him. However, before that, she instructs him to drink the elixir she gave him, stating that it is a risky method and he needs to be very prepared. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, the members of the Iron Guild are still engaged in fighting against Athena's group. As Giju stands, holding just his white swords, both El and Lu tell him not to trust Sejong, stating that she is a very dangerous woman. However, in spite of their words, Giju is facing off with Iron Shield, who stands at a distance, looking at him. Seeing Sejong behind Giju, Iron Shield addresses her as the demon, stating that she stole the boss, while they were not looking. In response, Sejong clarifies that it was not theirs in the first place, and encourages Giju to do what she taught him. Gathering his courage, Giju calls out to Iron Shield, stating that he will kill him. However, instead of getting scared, Iron Shield gives a cruel smile and rushes towards Giju at high speed, causing him to feel anxious. Reaching near him, Iron Shield remarks that Giju has changed a lot, and asks if he has become the subordinate of that demon, or if he always been one. However, considering that it does not matter, Iron Shield states that he will have to kill Giju here. As Iron Shield charges at him, intent on killing him, Giju recalls when he drank the elixir in the reward room. While drinking the elixir, he received a system notification telling him that his body was being fixed, as Sejong and Bal looked at him in curiosity. After drinking it, Giju turned to Sejong, remarking that he did not feel any changes in his condition. Agreeing, Sejong revealed that the changes were in his abilities and latent powers, which left him speechless, while changes to his body will be small for now. She further stated that those small changes could determine a player's life or death. She told him that the most noticeable change made by the elixir was improving his senses. Thinking about that, Gyeju successfully dodges Iron Shield's swift attack, allowing him to distance himself. Realizing that the elixir really had an impact on his senses, Gyeju thinks that the moves that were previously unfamiliar to him are now becoming easier for him to understand. While he was fighting Iron Shield, Sejong stands at a distance, quietly watching him, and congratulates him in getting one step closer to becoming a high ranker. He remembers the Demon King telling him that he was no match for a strong person like Iron Shield just yet, and that the best he could do against him was to avoid one attack of his. Therefore, she suggested he not try too hard to win against him, when there are other easier solutions. Remembering that, he looks calming at Iron Shield and thinks that it isn't ignorance but his confidence in his ability. Meanwhile, Iron Shield looks at him closely and starts to figure out that between his growth and contact with the Demon King, he starts to get serious and activates the power of his holy sword. He rushes towards Gyeju at a very fast speed to launch an attack. Recalling Sujun's advice to not be intimidated and just do it, Gyeju blocks the attack with his sword. As a result of the collision between Elle and the Holy Sword, Elle's abilities get awakened, and she starts to absorb the powers of the Holy Sword, leaving Iron Shield shocked. However, due to Gyeju's low level of abilities, only a fraction of the Holy Sword's powers are absorbed. After the absorption is complete, Gyeju smiles, knowing that his tactics of embarrassing and demotivating Iron Shield were to create distance between them. Then taking out the thread ball, he starts to activate Arachne's web, which slowly surrounds him, making Iron Shield realize what he is trying to do. Stating that he cannot let him go so easily, Iron Shield charges at him with his sword, but before he could reach him, Gyeju gives him the finger and ports away, leaving Iron Shield to miss with his swing. Realizing that he has disappeared, Iron Shield feels increasingly frustrated and enraged. While he is standing there, Sejong calls out to him from behind, asking if they could have a chat. As he turns around, he sees her surrounded by her ink flames ready to fight. Outside, a car arrives at the gate, and Seong-hoon comes out of it, happy to see Gyeju waiting for him at a distance. They head back to Korea, and the agent also helps Gyeju takes his mother from the hospital back to their house. Talking to Taeshik on the phone, he informs him about the situation and states that he will be waiting for Taeshik's return to Korea. After hanging up the call, Gyeju turns to Seong-hoon, thanking him for all his help and telling him to take care. Waiting patiently, as his mother opens her eyes and finds him sitting beside her, he is happy to see her awake and asks if she is alright. In response, his mother states that she only wanted to see him one last time before she dies and starts to cry, thanking him for coming back. However, Gyeju assures her that everything is going to be alright. His mother states that there is something she always wanted to tell him, and is about to reveal it when her condition starts to deteriorate. Telling her to hold on for a moment, Gyeju quickly opens the bottle of elixir and makes her drink it. After drinking it, she starts to calm down, and a bright light emanates from her body, beginning the healing process that makes Gyeju relieved. Feeling relaxed after such a long time, Gyeju collapses down near her mother's bed, and also goes into a deep sleep. Watching him, Elle calls out to him while Lu states that he has gone through so much in a single day. Elle expresses concern about getting more involved with Sejong, but Lu says there's nothing they can do and suggests letting Gyeju rest for a while. Late at night, while Gyeju is still deep in sleep, light starts to emanate from his mother's body, which starts to get brighter by the second, and then she suddenly opens her eyes. Meanwhile, his sister Yoo-jong is angry with him for not picking up the phone. Being gone for a month without a word, he just sends one FING text and doesn't bother to pick up the phone. How infuriating. Filled with anger, she decides to scold him and starts heading home instead of attending her supplementary classes. She arrives home and opens the door, calling out to Gyeju while expressing her frustration at his behavior and stating that they were worried about him. Just then, their mother calls out to her, surprising Yoo-jong. She stands frozen by the doorway, while her mother lets her know that Gyeju is sleeping in his room, and asking if she is hungry. Seeing her, Yoo-jong becomes overwhelmed with emotions. Feeling both happy and surprised at the same time, and calling Mom, "Who are you?" After a while, Gyeju slowly wakes up to the aroma of his mother's soybean soup and overhears them talking, and begins to get emotional. He thinks that behind this door is the scene he longed to see and even risked his life for. However, he has to get a hold of his emotions and greet her with a smile, so he gets up and opens the door, only to find a stranger preparing dinner. Shocked, he curses, asking, "Who are you?" He stares at her, and Yujong remarks that his expression is even more intense than hers. Then realization dawns on him, while their mother invites him to have dinner. After finishing dinner, Yujong repeats what Giju told them while eating, that he entered the maze gate and got the elixir from there, which led to rejuvenating their mother's health. Looking at their mother, who does not even have a trace of her illness and looks even younger, his sister is overwhelmed by the situation and doesn't know how to react to such great news, while Giju just laughs nervously. Calling out to him, their mother states that he had a hard time just because of her, apologizing to him. However, Giju states that it was not really that hard for a capable person like him, and they all laugh. Next morning, Taeshik visits Giju's house and is warmly welcomed by his mother, who invites him to stay and have lunch with them. However, he politely declines while blushing, explaining that he needs to discuss something in private with Giju. He then hands her a gift basket, and she expresses gratitude for taking care of her son. After that, they head to a restaurant, where Taeshik orders an extravagant meal and drinks, stating they have the ultimate cause for celebration. Curious, Taeshik asks how Giju obtained the elixir, stating that he barely controlled himself from asking that on the phone. In response, Giju, who has been thinking about something for quite a while, asks if Taeshik has the hots for his mom, causing Taeshik to spill his drink and stumble over his words, turning bright red. Stating that he has felt it a lot of times, and he will be rooting for him, causing Taeshik to feel shy. Meanwhile, the meal they ordered is also served, and they get back to the discussion of the elixir. Before revealing the details, Giju asks Taeshik to set up the portable barrier generator. When asked why, Giju reveals that it is going to be a long and complicated story. He starts to tell all the events that happened inside the gate, causing Taeshik to feel enraged at the people who tortured him. Telling him to calm down, our hero says that there is no reason to get angry, stating that he will punish the members of the Iron Guild himself. He then inquires about the guardian of the 4th floor, and Taeshik informs him that a C-rank subjugation squad was developed yesterday. Revealing the details of the squad members, Taeshik confidently states that they are powerful enough to take down even the guardian of the 30th floor, and should be reporting their success soon, to which Giju replies it's a shame since he wanted to kill it. Meanwhile, on the 4th floor of the tower, a person runs for their life, realizing they need to inform the association that the C-rank squad has been completely wiped out. Suddenly, the boss monster appears behind them with fierce intent in its eyes, and a moment later, a loud scream echoes in the empty forest. The next morning, he sits in the car with Seonghun, who tells him that it's a priority to get him and his mother examined for any after effects of taking the elixir, since it can't be done at a normal hospital, not to worry since Taeshik will take care of it. He then tells him about the yellow crystal that he received as a reward along with the elixir, and reveals that he has given half of its selling amount to Taeshik, according to Giju's wish. Going through the document, Seonghun reveals that he still has about $20 million left, and informs him about the selected location for his new house. After going through all the process, Seonghun asks if he has any questions, to which Giju can only stare back at him blankly. Then states that he has none, but asks why Seonghun is going through all this trouble on his behalf. Seonghun reveals that Taeshik has made him Giju's personal assistant, and taking Giju's phone saves his number in it, stating that he is looking forward to working with him. Looking at him, Giju wonders if he was always like this. After arrived in Dongdaemun, Seonghun asks what Giju was planning on doing with the briefcases filled with $8 million in cash. Giju reveals that some armor that he bought on credit got destroyed, for which he has to pay and buy some new equipment as well, causing Seonghun to ask how much it cost. In response, Giju reveals its price to be $3.5 million. Leaving Seonghun shocked. Remembering that the old blacksmith loaned him such a huge amount, Giju thinks of him as crazy, just like himself, who accepted it without a second thought. Meanwhile, in the workshop where the old man is busy forging new weapons, his grandson comes to him, informing him about the arrival of a guest, making him confused. Meanwhile, in the room, after taking all the briefcases down, Seonghun goes upstairs, telling Giju that he will be waiting for him upstairs. Just as he leaves, the old man arrives, recognizing Giju and remarking that he has changed a lot in just a few months. He approaches the blacksmith asking about his well-being, to which the blacksmith replies that he is well and lets him know that he received the money Giju sent through the association, which was a little lacking. Hearing this, Giju apologizes, but the blacksmith said he understood, and the letter that came with it was basically a will. He states that he was not expecting Giju to return alive, causing Giju to laugh and state that he has finally come to pay back the rest of the money. Just then the old man notices Giju's shirt and inquires if Bernhard is dead. To which our hero agrees, revealing that it disintegrated while saving his life. Hearing that, the old man feels sad and stays silent for a moment, but then states that this is what it was made for and asks Giju to tell him about Bernhard's final moments. The next morning, Yujong wakes up to find Giju and their mother ready to leave for their examination. She suddenly notices something, and asks her brother if he has gotten taller. At the examination, Seonghun also expressed his surprise at Giju's improved appearance and remarks that he looks like a model or a celebrity. Having grown 3 centimeters taller overnight, and even gotten more muscular, Seonghun states that the elixir really has a wonderful impact. When asked if he could get him one, our hero recalled that his sister saying the same thing. Just then, Giju's expressions changed, and he thinks that it might not seem like a big deal, but this is a big change. He remembers how he used to work really hard, and hardly got any improvement in his physicality in the past. Lu comments that his master was a weakling after all. Shut up. The results of his examination are revealed. He currently has the stamina of a level 10 player, but what is more surprising is his magic and mana control, which are SS rank, and he has the potential of a high ranker. When told about this, Giju does not have much of a reaction, prompting Seonghun to complain about his lack of excitement. While Seonghun tells him to get at least a little excited, Giju turns around and smiles, thinking that this news is not new to him. Just then, Taeshik enters, asking if they are done, and Giju agrees, asking about his mother. Taeshik reveals that she is perfectly fine and much stronger than an average man, leaving Giju surprised. Also, despite being a normal civilian, she has the ability to use items, intensifying Giju's excitement and astonishment. Taeshik goes on to tell our hero that he has come in person to see him for another purpose, and asks Giju when he plans to get back to hunting. He was thinking to rest until El completely absorbs the powers of the Holy Sword, to which El apologizes for the delay. Taeshik goes on to reveal that they have lost communication with the C-rank subjugation squad, which shocked our hero. He goes on to state that they are currently in the process of preparing a B-rank squad to send on the mission, revealing that the boss monster has still not been defeated. While Giju stays silent, Taeshik states that an even bigger problem is that the monster possesses the capability of hunting the players to grow more powerful. Meanwhile, Seonghun stands at a distance, looking at their serious expressions, and wonders what they are talking about. A B-rank subjugation team consists of 30 members, 60% of whom are B-rankers, while Giju thinks about himself having no rank. As he sits in Taeshik's office, Taeshik tells him to take the official rank assessment, stating that he does not have to worry about being able to equip items anymore. Taeshik assures him that his physical attributes might be D rank, but considering his potential, he will surely get a B rank. However, Giju states that you usually have to be level 100 to become a B rank, and since he is only level 1, asking if talking about potential is too ambiguous. In response, Taeshik explains that mana capacity and utilization directly translate to practical combat, and in short levels are not as important compared to the potential of incremental stat increases upon leveling up. He says that he thought Giju would willingly get assessed, in order to get a rank that drastically changes the way a person is treated. Giju remains silent and takes a sigh, while Taeshik shows him a paper stating that there is still a way for him to participate in the raid. Confused, Giju asks him how, and Taeshik tells him that he can join one of those guilds temporarily. Just then he notices the guild named Morningstar, which is headed by Seonpil, and includes all 3 of his group members, which leaves him surprised. The next week, a player named Donghee Kim from the Child Guild, standing in front of a large group, lets them know that he has been appointed as the captain of the subjugation squad, saying that they will leave as soon as all the people arrive, and looking forward to working with them. After some time, while walking towards the 4th floor, Giju, who accompanies Seonpil and his friends, thanks them for taking him in, while they state that they basically owe their lives to him. Seonpil feels bad for not being able to do more, but Giju assures him that what he is doing now is more than enough, and he is grateful for the opportunity to fight the monster. Seonpil laughs, saying that they might not get a chance, because there are a lot of big shots in the group, which puzzles Giju. Seonpil reveals that the squad captain Donghee, according to the rumors, is about to be promoted to an A rank. Looking at Donghee effortlessly killing the monsters coming in his way like insects, they state that even getting close to A rank is a huge deal while Donghee walks ahead of them. Looking at him, Giju wonders if this was something to be amazed at, since it wasn't much when compared to the likes of the Demon King or Iron Shield, while the egos remark that his standards have become uselessly high. Just then, the red hat approaches him, complimenting his changed appearance, which confuses him, while another member agrees, asking if he did something to his face. While looking at them, Giju wonders if he really changed that much, while Lu remarks that his vibe has certainly changed and they have started to get an impressionable feeling about him. Hearing that, Giju turns to them and clarifies that it is not related to plastic surgery, and that he only gained a job-specific skill on the 5th floor, resulting in him growing a bit taller. Upon hearing that, all of them express their astonishment and wish to have such a skill as they continue walking ahead. While they walk and talk to each other in a friendly manner, the members of another guild watch them with a cold expression on their faces. After some time, the group reaches the 4th floor of the tower, and Donghee instructs the search party to track the guardian while telling the others to rest for a bit. Complying, the search party leaves for the tracking mission while the rest settle down to rest. While sitting with his group under a tree, Giju looks at all of them. Considering that Seonpil is an archer, Hanul is a mage, Songwoo is a swordsman, and Jaewon is a tank, Giju asks about the logic behind naming their guild Morningstar. While Seonpil feels embarrassed by that question, the rest of the group starts laughing, which causes him to become annoyed. Just then, one of them reveals that Seonpil decided on that name because of Giju. He says that when Giju left the cave to call for help, Seonpil saw a light shining from him, just like a morning star, and gave this name to his guild. Meanwhile, Seonpil keeps expressing his frustration at his group members laughing at him. Stopping them from fighting, Giju tells them to speak more casually with him, stating that he is not their guide anymore, and they agree. In response, they also tell him to become more comfortable with them, and he agrees. While they are busy talking, someone stands at a distance, looking at them. Coming near them, the person states that the world has really changed, causing Giju to become startled. Turning to them, he finds the same guild members who were observing them a while ago when one of them states that they seem to have come on a picnic. Looking at them, Giju asks who they are, and Seonpil replies that they are members of the Brother Guild, and the person talking is a B-rank player, Yeonseok Nam. Hearing that, Giju asks about their job, and Seonpil reveals that they are quite famous. He states that their slogan portrays survival of the fittest, they pursue strength, and they are known for valuing tradition and loyalty above everything else. While they discuss that, Yeonseok remarks that they are useless, and this is the reason why they are only C rank. Hearing that, Jaewon becomes enraged, but Hanul tells him to ignore them. Meanwhile, Yeonseok keeps on mocking them, stating that they must think of themselves as useless individuals who are being let into a B-rank subjugation squad. He states that they should be on guard more than anyone else instead of gossiping lazily, and they should be more useful than porters, at least. Hearing that, all of them feel enraged but control themselves while the members of the guild walk away, stating that they are no fun. After they leave, Seonpil turns to Giju, apologizing to him for getting insulted because of them while he keeps looking down. Suddenly, Donghee, who is standing at a distance, feels an overwhelming amount of energy coming from Giju and turns around with a shock. Meanwhile, Giju, who is sitting still, holds his chest while Elle and Lu ask him to calm down and control his emotions, stating that his murderous intent is growing stronger. Feeling confused about his own reaction, Giju thinks why he is feeling so angry when the situation wasn't that frustrating, and wonders if it is a side effect of the torture he endured. As he contemplates this, Donghee approaches them and mentions that there seems to be some disturbance. He clarifies that he is not blaming Giju for anything, but as the squad captain, he needs to know what's going on, and Giju agrees. With an idea in mind, Giju states that there was a bit of friction and he wants to request something from Donghee regarding it, which leaves Donghee confused. Getting up, Giju states that he wants to spar with the player Yeonseok Nam, believing that resolving any conflict between players before going into battle is the best approach. Hearing this, Yeonseok turns to him, surprised by the statement, and the other players standing around express their astonishment as well. Meanwhile, Donghee questions if Giju is sure about it, emphasizing that the difference between a C and a B rank is significant. Giju says that he is aware of it, and adds another condition, explaining that his guild is currently a backup force, while the members of the Brother Guild are the main attack force. He believes that practical combat strength is more important than ranks, and proposes switching positions between the two guilds if he wins against Yansiak, which shocks Seonpil. Confused, the members of Giju's guild ask why he is suggesting such a thing. And he apologizes for not discussing it with them, asking them to trust him. Just then, Yansiak approaches him, stating that Giju cannot decide everything on his own and pointing out that they have nothing to gain from the fight. In response, Giju states that if Yansiak beats him, he will give him 500 million and says that it is a very good condition. Hearing that, the members of the Brother Guild become surprised and wonder if he is serious. One of them speculates that Giju might later deny his own words, but Yansiak argues that it's not possible when many people have heard him. Turning to Donghee, he states that this is a jackpot for them and there is no way they will lose it. Remembering the overwhelming energy he felt from Giju, Donghee thinks that if it was a coincidence, he should confirm it by this fight and allows them to spar. After a while, all the players circle around Giju and Yansiak while Donghee explains that the use of weapons is prohibited and the fight will end when one side forfeits. Looking at his swords held by Seonpil, Giju wonders if this much distance is fine, and Lu reassures him that the more he progresses, the greater the distance he can maintain with the links. Meanwhile, Yansiak, who appears very confident in his win, states that he will let Giju have the first blow, as ending the battle too quickly wouldn't be fun, and invites Giju to come at him. Observing the gaps in Yansiak's defense, Giju wonders if he is being baited, but he decides to trust his agility and close the gap to make the first move instead of simply gathering information. As he gets closer and prepares to launch a punch, Yansiak remains still and smiles, making Giju wonder if he possesses the skill of an immediate activation counterattack. However, considering that it is too late to pull back, Giju decides to draw back his body as quickly as possible and prepare to hit back when Yansiak launches a counterattack. With that in mind, he reaches for Yansiak and forcefully punches him, to which Yansiak does not respond and collapses to the ground, becoming unconscious. Seeing that, the other members of the Brother Guild and Donghee become shocked, and Giju is declared the winner, which makes his group members happy. Looking at Giju standing with his group and the members of the Brother Guild trying to wake their leader up, Donghee thinks that Giju's movements were hard to follow, even for himself. He believes Giju will be the biggest variable in this raid. Just then, the scouts sent for the tracking mission return, badly panting, surprising them. Meanwhile, in the association's president's office, Taeshik reports to the president about the formation of a B-rank subjugation squad that departed on Friday morning. While reading the squad members' details, the president comes across Giju's name. Remembering the association's basement training, the international portal, and Seonghun's assistant work, he remarks that Taeshik has shown extravagant special care to an outside player. Turning to him, the president asks Taeshik if he has an explanation for all that. Meanwhile, on the fourth floor, Giju and his group reach the monster as part of the main attacking group. The monster, with its back turned towards them, keeps consuming the dead bodies of the players and other monsters it killed. Looking at it, they think that as players, they might get used to death, but seeing a creature treat its own kind as mere prey is not easy to accept. Seeing the monster, Donghee charges his sword with overwhelming energy and unleashes a water jet cutter directed towards the creature. Enraged by the attack, the monster turns to them, and Donghee calls out to the troops, telling them to start the attack. Meanwhile, Giju and his group stand behind, holding their weapons ready for the command. He remembers the plan for the subjugation, recalling that the water jet cutter attack of Donghee was just a signal for them to begin their powerful spell. As the main troops attack the monster, it runs towards them and becomes blocked by the backline tankers who step up defensive barriers, like Earthwall and Stone Shield. Using their defensive skills simultaneously, they keep blocking the powerful attacks, allowing others to attack back. At this time, the D-rank and below porters start to throw the explosive items over the shields, while the ranged dealers also join in with their ultra-long-range attacks. All these simultaneous attacks directed at the monster bewilder it, and cause a massive explosion, proving it to be a simple yet effective strategy. However, our hero, who is thinking something is off, turns to Seonpil, stating that they should not rush to the front at this moment and should observe the situation instead. Confused by this suggestion, Seonpil argues that they finally got a chance to become part of the main attacking group, but suddenly stops speaking and looks ahead with surprise. In front of them, the monster shatters the stone wall into pieces, causing a massive explosion that makes Donghee confused. While Giju thinks the biggest problem with this strategy is that if it fails, all hell breaks loose. Just as the monster comes out from the clouds of smoke, holding a giant blade, and lets out a loud scream. Reaching within the group of players, the monster starts to wreak havoc by injuring players and throwing them in different directions. Drinking the healing potions, the players wonder how long it has been since the battle started, only to realize that it has not been 5 minutes and the monster has already started to overpower them. However, looking at Donghee, they remark that it is amazing that he can stand confidently against such a dangerous monster. Meanwhile, Donghee charges his sword with powerful force and rushes towards the monster, launching a powerful strike. However, as he looks back towards the monster after the strike, he realizes that the monster's wounds are healing very quickly due to its incredible regeneration skill. Considering that, he orders the two main teams to start the attack while the backup team is instructed to prepare for the battle. Meanwhile, our hero remains still just watching, and Seonpil states that they also need to get ready because it will be their turn soon. Giju replies, "He's got this," making them confused, while our hero starts to walk towards the monster, holding both his swords. While they shout at him, telling him it's dangerous, our hero pays no heed as he continues to approach the monster, while emanating strong energy from his body. While dodging a few of the blows, Giju smiles and thinks that the players who graduated from the tutorial would never be able to understand what he knows. With that, he leaps up and starts launching swift attacks, thinking the patterns of the Guardian are similar to regular orcs, and the difference lies in their physiques and regenerations. Recalling his visit to the blacksmith shop to buy new equipment, our hero smiles, thinking his is the best opportunity to test out his newly linked ego's powers. He leaps up and reaches the monster at high speed, launching countless attacks, leaving it bewildered. Looking at his shoes, Hermes, it increases his movement speed and gives him the haste ability. When activated, it gradually increases the speed of the wearer for 5 minutes, and its top speed can be reached after 3 minutes. After a few moments, blood starts to spurt out of the monster's body, causing it to scream in agony, which leaves all the other players in a state of astonishment. Looking at the wounds on the monster, Donghee warns Giju that it has a powerful regenerative ability and they need to use deep attacks rather than several light attacks. Stating that this will be a battle of attrition, Donghee instructs him to save his stamina. However, just then, he realizes that the regeneration of the monster has stopped and becomes surprised. As Giju stands looking, we see that his necklace is another ego named Rain. It allows the user to regenerate mana at a faster rate and applies grievous wound, which slows down the healing of any wounds he inflicts. After a few moments, the monster gets up again and changes the patterns of its attacks, leaving all the players bewildered. To our hero who is just watching, thinks that this change is not impressive, it's simply the flailing around of a low-level monster that has been cornered. With a smile, he predicted all of this in advance, leaps up launching a brutal attack on the monster that leaves all others astonished. After landing, he rushes forward again and gives a powerful horizontal slash to the monster, thinking that it is an orc after all and cannot scare him no matter what. Following that attack, he keeps on launching continuous strikes, causing blood to continuously spurt out of the monster's body. After some time, the other members of the squad stare at him in shock while he stands near the boss monster lying dead on the ground. While the players express their astonishment at our hero taking down the monster alone, a notification confirming his victory over the low-ranking demon Ferrith. Giju is surprised to realize that it was a demon. Just then Lu's cannibalism skill activates and the monster starts to be devoured. Witnessing this, all the other players become shocked, while Giju remains still and receives a notification that the egoification of Ferrith has failed. He looks at Lu with an accusing look, then another notification tells him that the fragments of Ferrith's egoification are being absorbed into Lu. With the monster's body having disappeared, Giju stands still, while Donghee keeps looking at him in astonishment. Turning to the other players, he instructs all the injured members to focus on their recovery, and tells the non-combatants to start organizing the front line's leftover belongings. He advises them to remain attentive and not let their guard down, then walks towards Giju, asking for a private conversation. As they walk, Giju wonders if Donghi was gonna interrogate him for the disappearance of the corpse, since he knows the guardian's corpse holds significant value. Considering that all the spirit stones and reward items will now be inaccessible, Giju suspects that Donghi plans to blame him for that. However, he believes there is no concrete evidence that it's solely his fault, as it was an irregular fight, and Donghi cannot make hasty assumptions. While these suspicions fill our hero's mind, Donghi gets straight to the point and asks him if he has any interest in joining their guild, making him realize what his intentions were. He politely turns down the offer, stating that he's not interested in joining any group at the moment, and says that he temporarily joined the Morningstar Guild to participate in this raid. Understanding Giju's decision, Donghi expresses his desire to maintain a good relationship with him. So, he gives Giju his business card, suggesting that Giju can contact him if he ever changes his mind or needs assistance. After leaving the tower, Giju stands with the members of the Morningstar Guild outside the association building, showing his appreciation for their efforts. Turning to Seonpil, Giju asks why he didn't join Sequa's kind guild. He remarks that Seonpil is very capable, has more than enough potential and connections, and would have been very successful if he joined, but Seonpil states that it is nothing special. Seonpil goes on to explain that he didn't want others to think his recruitment was based on nepotism, and that he aimed to achieve everything on his own. He then poses the same question to Giju, suggesting that Sequa would have highly appreciated someone like him. After some contemplation, Giju states that he's nothing extraordinary and starts laughing. Just then, other members of their group approach them, asking about their discussion and inviting them to join them for lunch. He politely declines, telling them that he is moving soon and needs to go home and pack up, and bids them farewell. He assures them that he will contact them once the move is completed. He takes his phone out, planning to call Seonghun, since he told him that he would call after the raid. However, opening the phone, finds a message from Taeshik, telling him to call right after the subjugation is over. At an apartment building, Taeshik apologizing for calling so late. He reveals that the president of the association wants to have dinner with Giju. Our hero felt surprised, thinking it was so sudden and that he should have made some preparations if he knew. Thinking that the president is a self-made man who is popularly known as the hidden giant of the Korean player industry, Giju wonders why a person like that would want to meet him. As they reach the 10th floor of the building, Taeshik informs Giju that the president wants to prepare dinner for him, since cooking is his hobby. As they reach the door of Taeshik's apartment, he opens it and calls out to the president, starting a very informal conversation. After a while, Taeshik asks about the menu, saying that he did not have much at home. The president states that he got the groceries, and tells him to set the table. As Giju looks at the old man before him wearing an apron with surprise, realizing that this was the president of the association. Upon noticing, the president offers his hands in greeting, while Giju extends his hands in greeting. He is overwhelmed by the sheer amount of power surrounding the president. Realizing the intense pressure, Giju thinks that he is someone who is really powerful, and capable enough to become the head of the group of superhumans. Seeing Giju's expression, Taeshik remarks to take it easy and calls the president dad, leaving Giju puzzled and shocked at the realization that Taeshik is actually the son of the president. During dinner, Giju begins to eat while still feeling shocked at the implications. Meanwhile, the president states that he has heard a lot about him from Taeshik, who has given him a lot of help with his authority as the general manager. While Giju remains silent in response, Taeshik stops his dad, saying that they are at the dinner table and he should let Giju eat. The president replies that he is just saying what he needs to say, while Taeshik argues that Giju cannot even swallow the food properly because of him. Turning to our hero, the president states that he has a proposition for him, asking if he is interested in listening. Feeling nervous, Giju asks what he means, and the president states that the association would like to hire him. In response, Giju states that he is not interested in joining any organization currently, when the president interrupts, saying that it is not like that. He clarifies that he wants Giju to become a mercenary for the association. At night, while returning to his house, Giju remembers Taeshik's words that his father is not trying to pressure him or force him into anything. Instead, he only wants to give him proper labels to justify his receiving help from the association, so that he can get help when he wants and take what he deserves. Remembering Taeshik calling it a good offer, Giju thinks that it should not be bad if Taeshik has said it to him, but he does not feel good about getting affiliated with someone. Remembering Sequa's kind guild, he thinks that when he was flailing around as a level 1, Sequa became famous as the leader of one of the top guilds in Korea. He remembers that he has only been in his debt since he met him, thinks that he cannot be in debt forever, and eventually wants to stand next to him as an equal. Meanwhile, inside the tower, a fight goes on between a monster and two players who keep on missing the target and try hard to finish it off. Just then, the monster emerges from the flames once again and charges at them when one of them gives it a fatal blow that leads to its death. After the monster dies, they take a sigh of relief and wonder if they should proceed. One of them states that it is already nighttime, and they should just hunt 2 more of them. Having decided that, they start to move ahead, feeling a little chilly but thinking that it is because of the night that they feel this way. However, considering that the 26th floor generally has a hot climate, they find it strange and unusual. After walking some distance, they reach the edge of the hill and think that the monsters might be at the bottom of the hill. However, as they look down, they are shocked to see all the monsters frozen, along with the entire forest. Meanwhile, down the hill, a person calls out to the guildmaster, who is sitting upon the frozen body of a monster, and tells him that they are unable to find the thing they were looking for. Hearing that, the person gets up and turns out to be Sequa, who tells his guild members to let's head up. A TV show called The Weekly Player is revealing what happened last weekend. The Angela Guild declared that they would clear the 80th floor, causing a commotion to the entire world. The host explains that the guildmaster Seonho Lee, who is a global rank 1 candidate, and another high ranker Yubin Shin, reinforced that Korea is the nation of the strongest players. She states that this is the reason why they have organized a high rankers special event, the purpose of which is to introduce them to the living legend, Azura. Taking the discussion forward, the other host states that even amongst the original 5 high rankers, there is very limited knowledge available about Azura. Remembering that show, Giju turns to Taeshik, asking if Azura, known as the strongest player alive, is really the president of the association and his father. In response, Taeshik agrees, leaving him astonished, but tells him not to spread this information, saying that it's a secret. Taking a box with a ring out of his jacket pocket, he gives it to our hero, who looks at it extremely perplexed. Giju remarks, if you're proposing, you got the wrong person. Taeshik calls him a dumbass, and goes on to tell him it's a kind of identification supplied to the mercenaries, with which he can exercise authority equal to that of the managers, surprising Giju. He states that Seonghun will give him all the other details, telling him that they have made Seonghun his official secretary starting that day. He further explains that Giju will receive the treatment of a high ranker regarding many things related to the tower or gate clearing, and will be rewarded for completing the mission. He also reveals that Giju will have the right to decline any mission as a mercenary, leaving Giju astonished, and he remarks it to be the best offer. Meanwhile, in the main building of the Iron Guild located in New York, Iron Shield stands looking out of the window when a person comes to him, asking if they were called. As he asks what their request is, the person, who turns out to be Rogers, stands behind him, requesting to be sent to Korea, stating that he will do anything to go there. Iron Shield reveals that he will make a branch in Korea, and send Rogers there as a manager so that he can do as he wishes for revenge or otherwise. Along with it, Iron Shield states that he will bestow 9 upon him. Realizing that 9 is the powerful holy sword possessed by him, Rogers becomes overexcited and thanks him for that. Looking at him, Iron Shield states that he has to become the stepping stone for their revenge. Remembering the Demon King, he turns around with one of his legs replaced by an artificial one and expresses his anger, vowing to tear her to shreds the next time they meet. Meanwhile, traveling in a car, Giju looks at the stat window of L and remarks that it has grown considerably stronger after absorbing the power of the holy sword. However, he wonders where to get an actual holy sword and asks if L is aware of it, but she says sorry, she's still not regained all her memories. After thinking about it for a while, he turns to Lu asking about the ego shard. He states that Lu claimed that it was unaware of how to use the ego shard that they got from Changkyong's ego, but in the case of Faratha's ego, it was absorbed into it. Therefore, he asks if Lu feels like anything has changed after absorbing the ego. Lu ponders. Just then, Seonghun is quietly observing him, asks if he cut his hair and he agrees, getting that it grew a lot, so he just trimmed it a little. Observing Seonghun, Lu remarks that it seems like he is able to hear their conversation, but Giju states that it is impossible and repeats his question, and Lu states that is unaware of that. Disappointed by that reply, he turns to Seonghun, asking where they are going. In response, Seonghun reveals it to be a unique gate in Yosu whose rank keeps fluctuating between F and C, and he needs to clear it. Thinking that it is his first mission as a mercenary, Giju states that he feels a little nervous. However, Seonghun states that he does not need to feel nervous since their first objective is to simply gather information, and he will be going in as well. Seonghun then asks if he knows that there are code names given to the mercenaries of the association, but Giju replies that he has never heard of that before. Seonghun reveals that it was decided that morning in a meeting that his codename is Morningstar, making him surprised. Considering it to be a great coincidence, Giju thinks that Seonpil will be very happy if he finds out, but he notices that Seonghun has started to laugh, which makes him annoyed. After a while, they reach the gate, where the people guarding it welcome him, addressing him as Morningstar, which surprises him. The person introduces himself as the manager of the Players Association in Yosu, while Giju asks him to lift his head, feeling uneasy this way. He requests that they simply call him by his name, which causes Seonghun to start laughing again, making him frustrated. The manager explains that the gate in front of them appeared 4 days ago, and was immediately determined to be a unique gate. So nobody has gone inside. Seonghun remarks that their first goal in that case is to scout as originally planned, and inquires about the available manpower. In response, the manager states that they should be able to put together a B-rank subjugation squad upon request, which would be sufficient. Stating that they have already gathered all the supplies, the manager says that they can leave as soon as they are ready. Just then, they notice Giju walking towards the gate, becoming shocked and start to run after him. Reaching near him, they state that it is a unique gate and it's dangerous to approach it recklessly. Ignoring their words, Giju turns to Lu and L, asking if they are sure about what they said, and they agree. He touches the portal, causing it to become red, which resembles a situation where a gate break is about to occur, making everyone shocked. While Giju stands in front of the portal, others start to contact the headquarters and request backup from other guilds, thinking that the monster will soon start to overflow from the gate. While they are expressing their shock at such a sudden gate break, Giju realizes that L and Lu were indeed true when a window appears in front of him, asking him to confirm the link. This clarifies to him that this gate is indeed an ego in reality. In the surrounding area, people are still panicking and a person asks if they got any news from headquarters. Another person on the phone answers, confirming that the backups will arrive in 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Giju is conflicted about the situation, thinking he did suspect the gates could be egos, but didn't expect to find one so soon. As he was still hesitating on confirming the link, Seonghun comes from behind to grabs his hand and pull him back, while telling him it's dangerous, some strong boy crush vibes. After Giju is taken away, the gate reverts back to its normal blue status. Inside the temporary container office, Seonghun is amazed at Giju. He asks in a mocking voice that now Giju is even causing gate breaks. What else would he be doing next, control monsters or something else similar? Giju with a guilty face states, he didn't know it would turn out like that. Seonghun gets to the point and asks him what exactly happened, saying it did return to normal, but was that really a gate break? Our hero explains that he might have an idea, but it's still his first time experiencing something like this, and can't tell all the specifics, but it might be due to his unique ability that this happened. Since they can't do anything further, Seonghun hands Giju a traditional Korean mask to wear, in order to protect his identity. Due to the signs of a break, the outside is packed with players who were gathered urgently, as well as reporters who should be arriving soon as well. If he doesn't want to get all over the news, put the mask on in front of other people. After a conferring for 3 hours, it was decided that Giju would be entering the gate alone. While there were protests, the association took care of it somehow. At the entrance, Giju stands with his mask on, as Seonghun asks again if he is sure he will go in alone. Giju replies that since it's related to his unique ability, it would be best and for them to stand by outside, just in case. He then confirmed the link, causing him to disappear into the gate. Once inside, he gets a system notification stating testing your worth. Taking off the mask, He remarks that for Lu and El, all he had to do was give them names, but for a gate ego it might be different, to which Lu comments that he make them sound cheap. While he's not completely sure on what's happening, but he just has to clear the gate and see what happens, to which Lu agrees. As he looks around his surroundings, he can't help but get chills. He figures just heading towards where the magic concentrations are highest would be best. Just then, the ground suddenly shakes, and with an explosion, the skeletal warriors appear and start to rush toward him. And among them was a Dullahan, a headless horseman riding his headless horse, leading the group. He calls on El and Lu, and using his haste skill to charges at full speed towards the oncoming force. As he slashes through the skeletal forces, killing them with single strikes, he heads towards the leader to finish this battle. In the next moment, our hero stands within a cemetery looking towards a tall monument at the end of the walkway. Lu remarks that something feels off, while remembering back to the battle with the Dullahan. Lu continues to remark that the mid-boss was very weak compared to the magic power the gate emitted. Giju agrees, and as he was about to ask more about it, something catches his eyes. The casket top slides open to reveal a green glow from within, as Lu gives a warning. Lu states that everything else is so weak, since all the magic is concentrated into the boss monster before them. What stands before him is a monster that is only found in high-level gates or on floor 60 and above, the undead king, Lich. The Lich asks, "Are you the one who wishes to become his master?" Giju is momentarily surprised and taken aback, and the Lich asks his questions one more time, "Are you the one who wishes to become his master?" Giju wonders, how come the gatekeeper has the system's voice? Giju hesitated a little but declared that's right, he was here to become the master of this gate. Then he asked the Lich if he was the gate, to which the Lich answered questioning gate. Then with an audible click, the Lich remarked right the gate, he was the master of this abandoned ruin. Our hero noticed that the Lich no longer spoke with the system's voice. Then the Lich materialized a staff in his hand, and upon noticing this, our hero informed his egos that he would be making the first move as he rushed forward. The Lich shouted, "Prove that you are worthy to become its master." Using the power of the staff, it casted a fireball towards the charging hero. Noticing it was too late to dodge, Giju collided with it, causing a massive blast in the area. When the dust settled, Lu gave a warning to pay attention, since another attack was incoming. As Giju looked towards the Lich, multiple magic arrows were headed his way. The Lich asked, "Is that all you've got? He hasn't even gotten started yet," taunting our hero. As the arrows were about to reach his location, he quickly used haste to evade them, however the Lich was not about to give him a chance. It simply sent more arrows at Giju, and our hero was thinking that if he let his guard down, he might be done for. While still evading, he told Lu that he was counting on him, to which Lu replied, puzzled for what? As Giju threw the black sword in front of him. Lu cried for help and cursed his shitty master. And as Giju caught up to the sword, he said sorry while laughing, then used Lu as a stepping stone to launch himself towards the Lich while simultaneously using the trick of transforming Lu to a ring, then back again to a sword to confront the Lich. The attack of the black sword was easily blocked by the Lich's staff, and he commented that if you wish to become his master, this is not enough. But before he could finish, Giju transitioned into a spin attack, using white sword this time to strike a blow to the chest of the Lich, causing it to scream in pain. Then our hero jumped out of the range of the counterattack. The Lich remarked that white sword was an annoying weapon, and he wanted to avoid dragging this battle any longer. As Giju looked up, countless arrows were just above his position as far as the eye could see. Lu warned that they would not be able to dodge it, but El told him to use her since she could seal it. While our hero was using the white sword to block the magic arrows, Lu reminded his master to use him instead, since these demonic arrows were nothing to him. Having decided to trust Lu, he used the black sword to block the arrow as well and got a system notification telling him that Lu is absorbing the demonic energy. More system notifications informed him that Lu has begun to gain awareness of the Lord of the Demonic Blade, which confused our hero, Lord of what? Then asked for a sacrifice in order to successfully awaken Lu. At that moment, the eye on the sword lit up and created a barrier that absorbed the remaining demonic arrows. The Lich couldn't believe that a mere mortal had the power to do all this, but since he hasn't submitted to him yet, he declared the beginning of the last test. Summoning the undead from the grave, they started to combine and created a flesh golem. with the lich on top of its head. The giant flesh golem punched the ground, sending debris everywhere, but instead of being knocked out, Gidju used the arm to his advantage and climbed it to reach the lich for a devastating attack. Our hero asked the gate if this was worthy enough for it, and the lich responded that he accepts his new master. The system then notified him that the gate has accepted his link, and to please give it a name. As the smoke from the last attack starts to fade away, Gidju tries to think of a suitable name for this gate. Just then, black aura from the battle begins to be absorbed by Lu, and the red eye flares up, causing Lu to act out of control. Gidju asks Lu what's going on. Lu lets out a maddening laugh, saying did they see him, this is the real him. How long did they think that he could stand the sight of the holy blade getting stronger than him? When Gidju shouts Lu's name, the black sword comes back to his senses and begins to wonder what's going on. Elle tells her master that Lu is confused. Then Lu informs his master that he needs to go on a break, since he has a bit of a headache. Putting the issue aside for later, he goes back to naming the gate. After pondering for a bit, he thinks back to Brunhart, the armor that faded away. Then, making a decision, declares the name of the gate as Brunhart. Meanwhile, outside the gate, they have declared a gate break. The player association agents are moving the citizens of the city into evacuation shelters. Some players are on standby in front of the gate to eliminate any threat that appears. These two players are discussing the rank of this unique gate, which fluctuates between F rank and C rank. Nearby, Taeshik asks Seonghun about backup and is informed that all the nearby guilds and the members of the Child Guild are on their way. When asked about evacuation, it's going smoothly and they believe it'll be finished within 30 minutes. Taeshik tells them to do it within 10, and Seonghun replied he will tell them that. However, their biggest problems are the paparazzi that are not being cooperative, calling on the freedom of the press, and since some are retired players, they are being a real hassle to deal with. Taeshik with an angry expression remarks, let them be, if they want to die, then just let them. What worries Taeshik isn't the outbreak itself, since they have enough firepower to deal with it, but if a break does happen, then it means something bad has happened to Gidju. Just at that moment, the players outside became alarmed due to the gate turning red, signaling a gate break. Everyone braces for combat, the frontline shields are lined up at the gate to meet the assault. Taeshik, feeling guilty, apologizes to brother Kim for his lack of foresight, and begs forgiveness from Gidju for not being able to protect him. As he materializes his weapon, he charges towards the gate shouting, he will avenge Gidju with his own hands. With a mighty leap, he jumps over the heads of other players to reach the front of the gate. While he is still in the middle of his leap, Gidju steps out of the gate and asks, did you call me? Which catches Taeshik off guard, causing him to lose his balance in mid-air. Just before falling he calls him a bitch, then tumbles onto the ground. Gidju, wearing the hilarious mask, stands there puzzled, remarks, what's all this? Just as he turns to see the surrounding, he is momentarily blinded from the paparazzi try to take his picture. Gidju is taken aback by the paparazzi, who want him to take off his mask and give interviews. At night, back at Taeshik's apartment building, they are met with the player association president and discussing the day's events while eating dinner. As he intently stares at Gidju, stating that due to the gate ego, our hero was able to quickly grow stronger. At these words, Seonghun nervously remarking that, is this something that he should be privy to since unique abilities are sensitive matters, but Taeshik cuts him off saying that he is here because he could trust him, otherwise he wouldn't have made him his secretary in the first place. After saying this, he turns to Gidju asking, if he linked with the gate, what happened to it? Our hero replies that since this is his first time, he is not really sure, but the gate said it's stabilizing right now and won't respond to him. Something might have happened to the gate when it closed. Lu isn't responding either, but currently it's transcending, but he can use Lu's abilities like normal, so there isn't anything wrong with it. The president is amazed that a player can possess a gate. If this gets out, the whole world will go crazy. As for the reporters, the association took good care of it, so it won't reach the press. As Gidju thanks the president, his phone rings starts to ring. He excuses himself to get the call, and it turns out to be his sister asking, is that guy on the TV really him? She tells him that she was able to identify him by his ring and necklace, but what's up with that weird mask? Just at that moment, everyone at the table gets notifications on their phone at the same time. While Gidju's sister is explaining the exploits of the unknown hero who stopped a break, calling her brother a bit cool, and asking if she can brag about it to her friends, since she thinks a lot of people can tell it's him. While she is still talking, he turns to look at the people at the table. They stare back with blank faces. The news feed on their phones are reporting on the hero who single-handedly prevented a disaster. Is this the birth of a new high ranker? Oh, he's screwed. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the Demon King is looking at her phone and sees the news about our boy. Ball from behind her comments that she looks to be in a good mood, and she replies it's nothing. With a smile she remarks that she feels like she taught her student well. Player paparazzi are mostly retired players who report on things related to tower, gates, and players. According to Taeshik, they are hard to control and he blames himself for not being able to keep Gidju out of the limelight. Our hero consoles him, saying it's not like it was done on purpose. Taeshik points out that a bothersome guy was mixed in among the mob of reports, a player who was pretty famous before he retired. Hyangchul Go, who ranked quite high even among other rankers, and warns Gidju not to get involved with him, and be careful not to run into this guy in the future. Plot for later. After some time, Gidju goes to the workshop of Senior Huang. He greets his senior, who tells him that he read the news and compliments him on being famous. Since he could clearly identify him with all the egos he is wearing, jokingly asking if he should pay Gidju advertising fee for displaying them all. Our hero, being bashful, tells the senior that his reason he is here today. He needs something that can help him from standing out, a means to hide his identity. The senior asks if he is looking for a mask, since the one he wore on the news was quite horrendous. But unfortunately, the workshop doesn't have anything of the sort that he is looking for. Gidju firmly tells him that he isn't looking for a mask, plus he wasn't the one who bought the mask in the first place. He goes on to explain that egos and masks are easily exposed to the public. While he will not be wearing the mask any longer, the problem lies with the signature rings he uses. The senior offers a simple solutions: use either a glove or gauntlets, and points to some over there for him to try out. He recalls in the past, it was really hard for him to establish a link, but afterwards when he tried again with Rain and Hermes, it was relatively easier. Could his capacity for wielding egos increased, to which L confirms his thoughts, saying that at the time he acquired Lu and L, his capacity was full. But now he is relatively stronger, so, and it's not due to his poor naming sense. Gidju thanks L for trying to console him, and as he looks over the items, something catches his eyes. The senior also comments that he picked out a nice item. He puts it on and tries to link with it by giving it the name Oberon, and to his amazement it took on the first try. The system message notifies him that he has successfully linked with the ego, Oberon, and he can access Oberon's information. It feels a little awkward, but he thinks it should be fine once he gets used to them. Oberon's status window shows him that he has the ability Force, which momentarily increases strength. He wonders if he can summon both his swords while using the gauntlet, since normal gloves broke whenever he summoned them. Thinking to try it out, he summons both swords without issues, and then accessorizes them all, which turns the gauntlets into normal-looking gloves, and perfectly hiding his rings. Thinking he can now use this on a daily basis, he tells the senior these are great and asks how much. The senior replies that it's free, but in return he wants a favor from him. If he ever finds himself in need of help, that Gidju will help him once. The next day, at the Player Association's first floor lobby, Gidju finds a sea of reporters loitering around. He asks Seonghun what's going on, and is informed that reporters have been bothering them a lot recently, coming here daily, all because of the masked ranker, who caused quite a scene from his first mission. Gidju remarks that he shouldn't be climbing the tower for a while, and should look into clearing gates for the time being. But Seonghun tells him that it won't be necessary, since all the paparazzi thinks that player Kim Gidju is a high ranker, so they are currently waiting for him on the higher floors of the tower. And reporters who are looking for the masked ranker are all on the lower floors, so they should have no issues. At these words Gidju feels offended and asks, "Are you mocking me?" Little clarification: high rankers are typically on floor 50 and higher, while our poor Gidju is nowhere near that yet. Inside on the first floor of the tower, while killing a goblin, Gidju reflects on the words of Senior Huang. The blacksmith values his gear very highly and takes pride in all his creations, so he wouldn't give them away for free without a good reason. It was probably a hard request for him. As he is walking in the forest, he hears the words, "Are you there, master?" Turning around, he asks Elle if she heard that as well, to which Elle inquired what her master was talking about. He tells Elle that he heard someone saying something about master or something. Just then the voice said, "The one who calls yourself their master, say my name out loud." He asks Elle again, "You heard it this time, right?" Elle remarks that maybe Lou's awake now? No, it's a different voice telling him to say its name out loud. Then as if a light bulb turned on, he said, "Could it be Brunhart?" As the words are spoken, an orb appears in front of him hovering in the air. He remarks, "This feels familiar to me for some reason," and starts to wonder, when an image of him almost getting butt naked comes to mind. With shocked realization, he hugs his clothes like a little girl and screams no. Nothing happens, and he slowly opens his eyes to look. Yup, the sphere is still there and it's not doing anything. Just then the system notification pipes up telling him, "Brunhart's form has not been determined yet, please determine Brunhart's form." He just stares at it without saying a word for a while, remarking that it's a bit different from what happened with Lou back then. He asks Elle if she knows anything about how to do this, and she tells him to put his hand over the marble and visualize the form that he wants. With a bit of skepticism, he slowly approaches and put his hands on it. He starts to recall the past when they were together, thinking about how it continued to save his life until the moment he perished. Thinking only if Brunhart could continue to protect him, like he has always done in the past. He wants him to stay by his side and protect him. At these thoughts, a green energy surged out of the sphere and entered into his chest. Like Iron Man? Then a voice speaks to him calling him Master. He is so glad to be together again with Master. Gidju remarks, "Back together? Could it be Bernhardt?" System pop-up shows Brunhart, the ego that had inherited memories. He looks at his new armor and says he is happy to be with Brunhart too. It's a little different than what he imagined, also the voice is very childish too. Using the new skill unification, the egos are able to talk with each other, and they make their greetings. Looking at the status window, it looks to have inherited its memories from the name, even able to retain the skill reflect which belonged to the original. Along with new skills that might be abilities it has as a gate. Praising Brunhart for having very impressive abilities, he began to test them out. While climbing the tower for a week, he focused on understanding the conditions of each ego, including Brunhart. First, his new skills, open and close, are used to open and close a gate at his location. Even though this is his ability, he can't enter the gate himself just yet, and also the monsters that spawn out don't listen to his commands either. But it's still very useful, since he can now intentionally create gate breaks. Once he is fully able to control this ability, it should exceed the powers a single person should have. The other abilities allow Brunhart to get stronger. Absorption can allow Brunhart to grow by absorbing other gates, while Domination can allow Brunhart to absorb lower ranking gates and dominate it. But these abilities are limited to the gates he possesses. While he wants to test more, he needs to take care of the monster in front of him first. The guardian of the 28th floor, Giant Smilodon, looks like a giant saber-tooth. He remarks that he's only been going against weak monsters for the past week, so he needs a little challenge every once in a while. By using the force skill from his gauntlets, combined with haste from his shoes, he is able to block the attack of the guardian. Saying this is enough for a good warm-up, he starts to battle the overgrown cat with seriousness. After exchanging some blows, he uses his reacquired reflect skill to finish it off. Since all the guardians are huge, it's getting easier for him to fight against them once he got used to the size difference, and with the stronger reflect skill makes it even easier. The guardian this time only dropped a single green crystal, but at least he can sell the corpse at the association for money. As he throws the crystal into the gate, he learned one thing about Brunhart's ability over this past week, and that is the gate can gain experience from the crystal and the monsters inside the gate can be strengthened. Now that he has grasped Brunhart's abilities and gotten used to using combination skills, he thinks about going directly to challenge the 30th floor of the tower. But he'll make the final decision once he gets to the 29th floor. Meanwhile, on the 29th floor of the tower, a group of players are facing off against red players. Oh, what do you know, it's the Smurfs gang again, the same trio in the front as last time. It's time for some guild battle. As our unsuspecting hero is walking by, he hears the noise of the battle nearby between players. Brunhard suggests to his master to go check it out, while our hero thinks he shouldn't be doing things like that. The group that is being ambushed is part of the Kane Guild, and Smurf number 1 is telling the injured guy that they are just using them as hostages to lure their guild master's sequel here. Just at that moment, a shadowy figure of Giju appears from behind him and grabs his head and lets him taste the dirt. While emitting a fearsome aura, he asks Smurf number 1, what was it that he was going to do? Well, stay tuned to find out what happens in the next episode. Until next time.